have a smaller, slimmer, meaner, more passionate Game Club crew in the house. We have Dan Tack.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
We have Lele Tobin.
Hello.
And we have Kimberly Wallace joining Game Club for the first time ever?
Yeah.
Have you ever been on one ever?
No.
This is wild. All right, so what we do, Kim,
and this was not planned, by the way.
That's right. You're a last-minute substitute because everybody that was here last week, they all fell off. They're all losers, but I'm especially pointing a finger at Joe Juba because the notorious Game Club bailer, that dude, Dan, what are we going to do with him?
Game Club commitment. You know, if I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound.
That's right. Dan and I aren't scared of commitment, unlike all those other weirdos that bailed. Yuck. So what this is, Kim, is we're going to talk about all of Monster Hunter World. The kind of rough framework was like, oh, let's focus on the high rank fights. As I played more and more and realized that, oh, that's further away than I realized. I got to it and I've done some of them, but
here.
It's a little bit loose. You know, we can just talk about our experience in the deeper game of Monster Hunter World. But a lot of people wrote in. We got a lot of great emails. Thank you to everybody that, you know, people went out and bought the game, spent $60 on this game just to play along with us and send in emails. Like, it's unbelievably amazing.
Really I hope a lot of them liked it.
I will never bail on a Game Club if I do one again.
Is that true?
It's true.
100%?
It's a dangerous thing to say, Kim.
People are buying games to play with us.
Kim, you don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah, you just made a hell of a commitment.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, my God. So how far are you, Kim? How much have you been playing? Let's get you caught up here.
I'm about 40 hours in when I looked at my timer last. So I've gotten through all the first like main part of the story and gone into high rank. So I've done a few of the high rank stuff, but I just got to high rank like the other day. So
gotcha.
I've been messing around a lot, just doing hunts and investigations and whatever I feel in the mood for. So I wasn't like getting through that story as fast as like, but you need to too, because you got to upgrade that gear.
I guess.
Stand a chance.
It's interesting you talk about like how it kind of ends that part of the story. Just the framework is still a little bit confusing to me because I'm also like 40 hours in. I'm at like near Hiragante in the story, but
so story does not end until high rank is over, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was that? Like it certainly
part.
It felt like it was a soft wrap up of like, Zoro Magdaros is sinking back into the ocean. Let's all hug and celebrate. And it seems like it could have been.
But then you saw that a guy standing there.
There is a weirdo guy.
There was a weirdo guy.
Yeah.
Who brings you to the weirdo place.
It's like I've been saying, like I sort of divide the game into three pieces, like low rank, high rank, Elder Dragon Plus. That's sort of how they divide it in terms of, I think in terms of difficulty. Mm-hmm. But the story doesn't end until you've completed a good quantity of Elder Dragons. So,
So the Elder Dragon stuff, I mean, is that going to appear differently on the world map? Because I was amazed that it was as distinct when you choose a location on the map that it says like low rank and then switch over to high rank.
Sure.
Is Elder Dragon
Elder Dragons
else?
are just the end of high rank, more or less.
Okay. Lele, how's your progress going?
I think I'm about 25 hours in, but I haven't been trying to like blast through the story. I more just play.
You're playing the game?
She likes to help people.
Whoa.
I like to
Yuck.
just, play with my friends.
I don't understand this at all. What's interesting is like you have spent so much time with previous Monster Hunter games and you just do not give a crap about finishing the story. Is it the same this time around?
It's not that kind of thing.
But
they're trying harder this time.
Exactly. That's still not enough for you to care.
I'm not really like invested in it because it looks nicer. How they've executed it looks nicer and is more engaging, but it's not like it's still not like a compelling story, really. It's the same type of thing as the other games. Yeah. It just looks nicer.
But you need it to raise that hunter rank, girl.
It's important to note that, like, despite Capcom saying...
You can't get to the cool stuff till you get that hunter rank.
I guess.
It's very true, actually. Yeah. The game opens up a lot in the later half.
Well, I mean, I'll clear it eventually, but I'm not, like, so engaged in like doing that next quest to see the next.
There's no rush.
You're gonna want new monsters to battle. You're gonna have to just suck it up and do it eventually. That's what I did. That's how I was. I was the same way, and I'm like, I really just got to finish this so I can get to the cooler monsters and gear. And that's what you got to do.
It is amazing how much it opens up quickly into high rank and just starts throwing monsters at you, like on your little walking tour of the Everstream, where it's like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this?
Or
just keep coming.
You open up your armor and you're like, oh my God, now I have all this I can get, which is just like, I don't even know what I want to invest in.
High rank is when you can start actually getting skills, and I like the sort of the streamlining they did of that in this game, where you just have like, rank 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't have to like get points to 10 in order to trigger one to happen. Yeah. It's the same stuff, but it's way easier to understand than other games. It's just like, I have a gem of attack. It gives me attack. Okay, I understand that. I don't have to bring my attack to 10 in order to get a bonus from several different pieces of gear. That's how it used to be.
Yeah. Well, Lay, you're not alone thinking that the story sucks. Mason Cowell says, this is my first time playing a Monster Hunter game, so I'm going to run through a few quick things that stood out to me. The combat and progression loop are a ton of fun. Variety of weapons is truly remarkable. Truly, Mason. But Mason says, the story ranges from being passively bad to aggressively awful. Both the dialogue and the mission formats for the story itself.
You know what disappointed me? Because I did that final mission yesterday.
Final mission.
The one before you go into high rank.
Okay.
What's his face that you face?
Zora Magdaros.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that whole mission was like the same type of format of the one we did like 3 missions ago.
Where it's just like, hey, load the cannon, fire it at this
Yeah,
idiot.
I was really disappointed. I'm like, because I was like, that's the big like, hey, we got him. He's off to sea. And I I was like, well, that could have been more exciting.
It's in a different environment, though, and you spend enough time on his back, I guess.
The same stuff. I don't know. You have that one new thing that you can drive into him in the ship.
Yeah, the Dragon Smasher or whatever.
Thank you.
Whatever,
I
the
didn't
Dragon
get every word wrong.
Dragonator.
The Dragonator. Yeah.
What
Yes, there you
is
go.
that? Because I think the commander was yelling at me like, no, it's not for the dragon. I don't think I used it.
It's like
you
a big
pretty much can't beat the
spear.
fight unless you use it.
Yeah, you
so.
need to. There's a button at the top of the ship that you just hit.
It does like
switch,
2,400
rather.
damage, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I
it's
did.
It
serious.
like comes out of the wall and like
How did
impales
you
it.
beat him then?
I don't think it's actually possible to without doing it.
Do you have to beat him? I don't
It's
remember
probably
if I killed
possible.
It's probably possible,
but
but you have to be mad on those
You have
cannons.
to really be OP. Like, I don't know. I mean, the Elder Dragons, and then, like I think I've found this in the last few entries, including the most recent like 3DS ones. Like, they're not as fun as they were before. Like,
Well, you've only done Zora Magdaros, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is more, but like that was like their big opening showpiece one to try
Yeah.
to hook players, and like, was it 3 Ultimate or 4 Ultimate that had the like fish one that would like jump over your ship? Was one of the first ones.
Yes, that was
They're
4
boring.
Ultimate, I think.
don't know. I mean,
But with Zora, like the rest of the Elder Dragon fights are all very traditional battles, as opposed to the weird like we're on a ship shooting cannons and stuff kind of.
well,
thing.
I mean, those are like okay, so like the original games. And see, I haven't done all of them in this new one, but
Yeah.
like the 3 that I remember from like the old games are Lao Shan Lung, which is sort of similar to Zora Magdaros. He just like crawls along down this big tunnel trying to like run away from something
Sounds
that we
pretty
don't know what
cool.
it is. And like
Wait,
every,
the giant monster's running away from something you
Yeah,
don't see?
yeah.
That's terrifying.
and like
Running away from life, man.
or migrating, I don't remember. So like so but that one, like, you know, you have people doing like heavy bowguns trying to break off his like big shoulder spikes, and you have people who are using lance like following him along under his belly trying to get his like smushy bits, and like there's like 2 places where you can jump down onto him to mine some points. And it was like a lot more about like getting that loot that you can only get from him, and it's just like an hour long, and then you either win or you don't, and it doesn't really matter. But like there was that one which is sort of boring. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like most of the Elder Dragons in the
Well,
recent
you
ones have
haven't
been
seen
like.
anything. Like, Dan,
yeah, they're
Yeah.
way different.
And then there was, I want to say Shengao Ren, who was like a really tall like crab, like a really tall hermit crab. And
it's
you
like
have
a
to,
crab with like stilt
shoot,
legs?
You have to like shoot his like knees in the different places to get him to like fall closer and closer down.
So are the Elder Dragons as cool as the old games, Dan?
And then-
I like them. I like this. I like this approach to them where they're actual encounters instead of being theme parky experiences.
So I'm excited to get to those. I haven't gotten that
Yeah.
far yet. But yeah. And then like Vitalis was like the only one that was like felt like scary and fast.
It's interesting. You,
The whole
in the
game.
last game club, you talked about the ancient forest and kind of what a tangled web it weaves and how you got lost in there and stuff. It's stupid that I think the most confusing environment I went to multiple times was just the back of Zora Magdaros. There were several times
Trying
I'm
to
just
get to his
running around.
head.
I'm like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. They
It's 'cause
keep
he- it's
yelling
'cause
at
he
me to
moves
attack some
around.
crap. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm sliding over the place. I just like drop down this sheer wall, and then I'm like, is this where I'm supposed to be? I don't know what the
I
hell is
haven't-
happening.
That fight sucks.
I haven't figured it out.
I
either.
called it out in my review specifically.
Well, yeah, and then they make you do like the same one twice. It just
Just don't do it more than once. Forget that Zora Magdaros gear. You can do better.
It's stupid to go up and
No,
use
but
a
I mean,
sword on
like
a...
you do that just so that like all I do is just like run around trying to get as much Dragonite ore as I can
Yeah.
before the timer runs out, and if I fail, I don't care.
I did that
So,
mission
like-
once, and it's like you get the chance to do it again. I'm like,
nope.
hell no, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. Sam K, just on the mopping up the story front real quick. Sam K from Pittsburgh says, "Hey, Cruz, I've been playing Monster World nonstop for the past 2 weeks straight, and I'm loving it. As the game hit high rank and gets harder, I'm enjoying it even more, but I've had one growing pet peeve for this game the whole time, and that is the entire research commission, except the Palicos," he says. "I feel as the story goes on, they become more and more useless and naggy and make you do literally everything. After you defeat Nergigante, possibly by yourself, I might add, they assign others of the commission to investigate the other areas, but then just have you do it? This on top of their generally obnoxious dialogue has me just playing the game with no volume a lot of the time. Does anyone else agree that these people are annoying fools? And other people were complaining of like, why does anybody have a name?
I mean, I think the handler is more annoying than anybody else in the game.
Yeah, than just the
She
weirdo
drives me
commission
nuts.
table.
But I don't know. For me, I feel like they're just doing what that game likes to do, give you stuff to do over and over and over again, and then some.
They really want to kill that Zora Magnaros. It's like their white whale. They're so obsessed with it in the story. It's bizarre.
The fact, like, again, I stated this before, like the story, I know they want, obviously the marketing messages, they want to say that it has a story now because huge, much big, wider audience than like, the 3DS potentially. So like, we've got a story now. It's like, no, you don't. You really don't, and it's not good. So just don't play the game for story. I've said that a billion times.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
But you need to.
They should just
like it's like
up.
Pokemon. I mean,
right.
I played like one Pokemon game in my life, and I didn't finish the story. And I
then
imagine
you're
that they're
missing
all
out,
the same.
How dare
To be fair, I
you?
think
But
it's
it's
a
just
completely
like-
different
story-
team.
Do you know
But
who
playing
you're talking
Pokemon
to
is
right
like
now?
about capturing Pokemon.
Yes.
It's not about the story, and it's the
Yes.
same type of thing.
And
For
it's even
sure.
worse in Pokemon because it's they force it down your throat a lot more. You have to interact with the story a lot more. In
You have to
Pokemon.
interact with giant homeless men that
God.
wander the earth.
You do.
It's insane.
It's so bad.
And that's the bummer too. Just
Is that in Pokemon?
It's in Pokemon X and Y. There's a giant hobo who wanders the earth that's like been around for 6,000 years or something.
That's the only one I played it. I don't remember that.
Exactly. No one remembers it. It's the most forgettable,
How can you forget
insane
like
stuff.
such great dialogue in Pokemon? Like, hey, check out my pants.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I tell people in Monster Hunter. Hey, check out my pants.
It is like the core idea of Monster Hunter is, hey, check out my pants.
Truth.
Tim
That is true.
writes in from California, says, hey, Monster Hunter World Game Club crew. Just want to say it's been a real joy listening to the Game Club. It's been a surreal and cathartic experience hearing you all talk so enthusiastically and knowledgeably about Monster Hunter. Flashback to 2015, I recall trying my damnedest to illustrate how awesome Monster Hunter 4U Ultimate was to the GI staff, and no one
Is this
listened.
Tim Turry?
This is Tim Turry.
Totally Tim
that's
Turry.
definitely not
I
correct.
could have called it.
Tim Turry, Capcom Shill. He says, why didn't Dan Tack listen to my
I reviewed that
frequent
game.
obsessions in trying to convince him that Monster Hunter... I know, he didn't actually write that part, Dan. But I remember him getting into it, and it still sounded like a complete pain in the ass. And it just seems laughable to think back on every iteration of Monster Hunter, Dan. Tell me if I'm wrong. Where it's just the message coming from you, coming from a lot of people, was like, this one is the most accessible ever. This one isn't bad to get into.
But I mean, it was always true that they did get more accessible, but there's a whole different line of like, you're talking about steps on a stairway and then
Yes.
just like an elevator of accessibility, right?
With Monster
just
Hunter
like
World.
forget the baby steps. We'll go all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And those steps, you're still far below the Earth's crust when saying that it's slightly more accessible. But Monster Hunter World
way
is the
more
elevator.
accessible. And I
Yes.
think some of that is just in the control scheme, man.
Yeah, it is the controls for me. That was the one thing with the handheld versions that I struggled with and I just could not grasp. And this, it just feels so much better. And that has really made all the difference for me. Like the loop, I'm like, oh, I should have gotten to this. I was like, no, I didn't like those controls. So this was the time for me to really get invested in the series.
Yeah, and last week we talked about the radial menu and like customizing it and whatnot, and how like the flick I was having a lot of trouble with. A couple people wrote in saying, this is Caleb from Dayton, Ohio, says, hey, I was listening to the Game Club and had a response for the quote suck ass controls. There are a few settings you might want to try. All these you can find under options. You can turn off aim assist. This allows you to have full control of where you strike with a weapon. I found myself missing a lot when this function is on because the game pulls my character towards what body part it thinks I'm trying to hit, causing some whiffs. Number 2, radial dial. Try option number 2. It'll allow you to select an item and then confirm your choice with R3. It's buried in the menus, but this is a complete game changer. It makes it so much better than trying to do the awkward flip. Have you done this yet?
Mhm.
Okay, go for option 2. Number 3, says Caleb, manual sheath. It just feels better. I don't
Makes
know
sense.
about that, Caleb. Dylan from Providence also was saying that absolutely go for R3 on the radial menu because it's the way to go. P.S. Dylan from Providence says, I'm developing a big crush on Leo Vader.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. There we
Congratulations,
go.
Leo.
That's the email of the week right there.
Leo is our little darling. So
Our little boy.
our little darling.
But Tim also wrote in, he wanted to point out, and I think that maybe this is a direct message for me because I'm playing a lot with him, and he brings it up on a nightly basis. He says, P.S. A tiny etiquette for new players. Please make room for some hammer brothers to attack the heads of fallen monsters. Those big, meaty bits of the hammer come with a good chance of KOing the beast and leading to a bonus round of stun. There may not be friendly damage, but flailing weapons will interrupt your party's animations. Blades are really useful during the first half of the fights for slicing off that tail, so start there. He's constantly screaming, "Leap, get out of the head! Get out of there! That's a hammer
Tim and I need to get back together because I just stay near that ass. And Tim's got the head
Girl.
and like...
Feedback from last week's or 2 weeks ago, that episode, Dylan Tega writes in and says, I really want Jeff Cork to know that I also named my Palico after my real-life cat named Echo. There's no shame in loving your cat.
Yeah, mine's
That's an
named
important
after
thing
my
to note.
cat
Yes.
too. I did that too.
Takes all kinds. Here's the real feedback there from Tim Tomlinson. He says, hey, you mentioned you had trouble with knockbacks during aerials with the insect glaive. That was me. He says the Kadachi armor chest piece has a skill called Jump Master, which negates knockback during jumps.
Perfect.
That sounds amazing. I'm going to have to go for that. He said, last time Dan Tack said there were no turtles in the game. I would submit that Zora Magdaros is one giant turtle.
I have heard this theory, but I don't believe it.
In one of the cutscenes, he's shown retreating into his shell, and his head and feet share characteristics of a turtle. He's basically Gamera, except he's not friend to all children, and he doesn't fly.
He's turtle-like.
That we know of.
We'll give him that, but he's not a turtle.
So there's one turtle-esque character, and it's the biggest one in the game, I think, right? Zora's the biggest?
That I've seen, yeah.
You think there's other monsters you haven't seen?
A bigger one will probably be coming later. Like, they've done a great job on events and putting stuff into the game, so...
Really?
I would be very surprised if Zora ends up being the biggest of the biggest.
That seems shocking. Tim also writes in and says, is anyone else annoyed with the scout flies yanking your camera control away? It's fine out in the field once. It shows you which way to go to find the monster, but if you need to go back to camp mid-fight to restock items, it drops you off looking directly at the tent, then wrenches the camera into a 180 to the exit to show you that the monster isn't in your camp. Gee, thanks. It gets me every time. Does anyone else hate this, or am I just a weirdo?
I think sometimes my fireflies are drunk, to be honest with you.
They're swirling in a circle?
Yeah, well, I've done like the R3 to, latch onto the monster, so it just takes me there. But like sometimes the routes that they give me and where they go, it's just, I'm like, you guys are drunk.
There's
right
a
now.
couple spots that I find in particular every single time. I just end up just in like a little spiral, like they can't figure it out.
Yeah.
It's usually when like something's up by the dam in the ancient forest, where it's like kind of like above where one of the camps is.
Right, I found
That's the one that it always gets lost.
It's very silly when it's like, I think it's in the ancient forest, there's like kind of this watery area, and then there's vines you can swing along, and the scout flies really want you to go on those vines. But it's like, look, the water is like knee deep. Like I can just run through that and that's
But
fine.
when you swing, it's really fast.
That's true. I've had such a tough time just trying to grab onto some vines. I make these jumps over and over again, especially in the Coral Highlands. I don't know. Are you guys having a hard time with that?
It's automatic.
But I don't know. I just can't make that distance.
Flow
I think
yourself
you have
at
to be
it.
sprinting for some of them.
Yeah, you do.
There
You
are
do.
some that are tricky.
You have to be running.
I've fallen before, I'll admit it.
Okay, good. But it sucks too because I'm so aerial with the insect glaive, and so it's like, well, this is impossible to miss, and I'll do my
Just get
combo air launcher over there, and then you won't grab onto it if you're doing the insect glaive.
You got to get
combo.
the glider cape, man.
Where's that?
I
just
don't
get it.
recall exactly where you get it, but man, it's crazy for like lifting yourself. You can just go nuts.
Do I have to craft it? Or?
No, it's
I
one of
just
it's
got it.
tool
Probably
acquisition.
in your equipment somewhere.
In your box.
You'll have a
treasure
side
chest.
quest.
Oh,
Almost
side
all of them
quest.
come from optional quests. Almost all of them.
Okay.
I do a lot of the optional stuff.
I haven't done much of that at all.
Well, that's where it is.
Dan, can I?
It's probably in that item box you didn't know you had.
Dan Tech has an answer
That's
for
true.
everything, so that you need. in
I
this
know.
game.
Well,
You
we have
should
a lot
just
of
have him by
questions.
your
That's
side.
good.
It helps out a lot. Dan, I was at the 36-hour mark
Okay.
when I was playing with somebody, I think Buddy Dave Clapp, when he made some mention of the bounties. And
Sure.
I said, what is this? He's like,
The
the
bounty-
bounties.
the
He's like,
bounty
how are you
tool.
36 hours into this game and you haven't taken a single
Oh my
bounty?
Gosh.
Have I just been hurting myself
are
throughout
you
the entire
doing?
experience? I don't know. There's
you
1,000
serious?
things in
Oh my
that
God,
game. It's
that's like
impossible.
the easiest part to
I went
grasp.
over all this stuff with you guys. There's a guide on the website. Come on.
Yeah, I
man.
know I was in that video, but I'm not taking notes and
Oh.
remembering
Like, but how do you even
exactly-
miss that?
But
They
yeah,
throw
that's
that in your face.
Yeah.
They throw 1,000 things in your face. You can't
It's like
possibly remember all that
after
crap.
every quest when it like drops you back at the like main gate of town.
Yeah.
And there's like an item box, and then you like turn a little bit, and there's like 3
right
people
there.
standing
Well, there's
there.
a town of people. I don't go
That's
double
how
check
you
with every
get
single
like some
one.
of the best like upgrades for your armor.
It does.
Apparently.
Like,
It's at
I know
the
that
end of the day,
now.
it's all extra supplies.
Just like free.
yeah,
it's
free ways
stuff.
to enhance your armor. Level up, baby.
You'll get them.
Yeah, they're like do a quest in the ancient forest, gather 5 honeys, and then like they just like give you stuff.
It's not a
for
big deal that you
stuff
haven't been doing them.
anyway.
Like, not in the long run, you're going to have a box full of armor pluses at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It probably would
doesn't
help more
hurt.
in the early parts than
Probably.
later,
I could have
but-
stolen more stuff because it really, my only hope of getting through this game has been just, hey, let's group up. I'll sit back.
That's fine.
I'll sharpen my weapon for 40 minutes and then that monster will
There's
be
no
dead.
shame in that, man.
Really? I
Get
think
in
there's a
there.
little bit. I think there's a little
Very
bit.
little.
Okay, thank you.
You could probably learn a lot, honestly, if you just like are watching. Like, even if you're like not super engaged the whole time if you're
Just
playing with
it's
people, but just like
watching
watch
Tim
the
use the
patterns.
hammer.
It's
Yeah,
better
just
to
watch the
watch
patterns.
and not be the guy that causes, like, the
sure.
mission to fail after 20 minutes.
Right. Ben Schneider writes in and says, please stop all of this co-op confusion. No one I have read mentions the easiest and most obvious way to play co-op, because last time we were complaining about playing with friends.
Not everyone was, but yeah.
All right, Dan Tag.
What's
So Ben says, you hit start. You go right once to communication in the
Yes.
menu. You go down to invite friend. Invite your friends. This puts you in the same session. Then anyone can post a quest. Everyone will see it's posted and can join it. If the quest poster has to see a cutscene, the join option will turn white when you can join. You don't have to keep guessing. To avoid full sessions problems, just always create your own session. No one mentions the invite friend option when they want to invite their friends. I don't use squads or session IDs or SOS flares or any of that nonsense. All I do is co-op with friends. Stop the misinformed madness. All right, Ben, I hear you. This is solid advice. We appreciate it. The
Thank
step-by-step
you.
walkthrough. I still think it is a core problem with the game when gamers of all stripes all come to the same conclusion of, why is this so complicated? This is a mess. Like, I don't care if it's technically possible. It is still a clunky-ass system that confuses 90% of the people that
Yeah.
play this game.
It shouldn't have been confusing. I think a lot of the problem too is just like my friends. Like if I like
Very
invite
dumb.
people, like they don't come. So like
What do you mean?
just
Aw,
like
that's
if
kinda
I've
sad.
invited
Ah!
people, they just like don't join my session. And so I'm like, did this work? I don't know. But really the problem is my friends are jerks.
Right.
I
Colossal.
need to get you some new friends.
We'll get
I'll
you some
play
new
with
friends.
Yeah.
We can buy you friends, Alay. Barbara Joe, champion of Game Club, writes in and says, hey, everyone. What's one quality of life improvement you would have made to the game?
Ooh.
Personally, I really want a way to sort investigations. I hate having to scroll through several pages of low-level nothing quests to find the more challenging ones. I would remove like 85% of the systems in complexity, but that's my little
Great.
quality of
So
life.
then you don't want to play Monster Hunter.
I think that's the conclusion.
Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, that's
It's not a
That
problem
was
that the
embarrassing.
depth like exists for you to explore. You don't have to do it all, but don't
I
take
think by
it
the time
away.
you get to high rank, I
You
think
don't.
you really
you really don't. They've made it so you can just, if you want to play it in the most simple form imaginable and never worry about anything, you don't have to.
I think it'll be very tough if you don't engage with
Sure.
a lot of those systems.
I think a lot of games are hard if you don't know how they work.
All right, well then you can't play it with just ignoring all
But you
that
can.
stuff.
You can.
You can beat your head against a wall if you want to.
It's very doable.
It's very doable. What would you guys change? Quality of life stuff.
I mean, I agree with the bounties. I agree with the investigations thing. Like, I often find myself hitting the 250 cap.
Oh, I
and
know.
It's annoying.
Yes,
Sorry, I
Kim?
just thought of it. When a friend joins a game, I wish they wouldn't go straight to the camp, but straight to where you're fighting the monster.
Okay.
Like straight
Although-
to like teleport straight to you.
Yeah.
But then like if they haven't eaten, they would not be able to get those buffs and they might like die
Or
right
have their weapon,
away.
or
You
their
change
always
them.
eat before you leave.
You
I
do,
mean,
but what if you
People
didn't?
don't always.
Yeah.
And like if
Well.
you're in the loop where you never go back to the headquarters, then like
Well, it's just stressful because I invite a friend and it takes forever for them to load in, and then they get in and then they're all the way back there and I'm here fighting this monster by myself, and it's a pain in the ass. So I just wish they put it a little closer.
well, yeah, I mean, it's easier too if you and this is partly why I'm so frustrated about the cutscene thing is like
Yeah.
we usually would just group up like, hey, we're gonna play Monster Hunter for 6 hours tonight, and like you just play with those 3 other
Mhm.
people for a long time.
And you can't. You constantly have to go in
But
and
like,
out now.
yeah, now you have to like go in and out, and like it's annoying. I don't know. And
Yeah,
like
well-
the cutscene thing, so you'd like have to like we all have to like take turns in the story, like to like post the quest
It's so
alone,
silly.
and then like get to that to trigger it, and then like leave, and then post it again and join each other, and it's like I don't think that was a good choice. I
Should
hope
be able
maybe
to
they
pick to
change
skip
that.
the cutscene or just all watch it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I
I
agree
can-
immensely. Like, the fact that there is no story in this game and the cutscenes or the notion that the story is somehow preventing people from grouping together, it's terrible. Shouldn't be there. And like, while I'm very thankful that late game there are no cutscenes, so that goes away, but like It's awful. It's awful for playing with your friends. That cutscene stuff has to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard some people complain about like I want to be able to see my friends run around Astera with me.
You can go up to the.
You go to the Gathering Hub, but like for the full city. But it's like, well, if you did that, then you couldn't skip the little cutscenes. You know, like the cooking cutscene if you're a maniac, because I don't know who would skip that every time.
Why-
or stuff like
Why couldn't you skip it?
it would throw off the time, right?
Well,
Everybody has
you're
to
just
be
sitting down and then would stand up faster,
Yeah.
right?
no, but if there's other people in the same online session, like it's the reason you can't skip time in multiplayer games, right?
That shouldn't matter in the hubs.
Why? If there's multiple people there, everyone would jump forward in
Because
time.
you just sit down on a stool and then stand up right away instead of sitting on the stool for like a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about like the armor thing, right? With the little armor cutscene that I skip every single time.
It
You
would just
couldn't-
like appear like at the same time that it appears in your little cutscene. I
Who's
don't
right?
understand.
Is this logical?
Oh,
Is this
wow.
making sense?
I don't know.
I think we should move on.
Yeah,
I don't think you can skip
think
cutscenes if it's multiplayer.
I don't think we know the complexity of game development to be able to decide.
Like,
Well, we understand
what would
time.
work.
Skipping the long cutscenes in battle wouldn't really work because then
Yeah.
like when the
Everybody would
person-
have to do it.
Yeah, but
Right.
like in the town, why would I don't know.
So it would just be the equivalent of just it would jump you back to the. Yeah, okay, maybe you're right. I could see it if
I
you're
think,
sitting there
like,
no matter
the
what,
other
and a
person,
cutscene's
like
running on
if
top.
you're in your canteen sitting down,
Right.
and like I would see you sit down and then stand
Right.
up
You're
rather
right.
than see time.
You're right,
Jump.
Olay. I take it all back. Barber
I'm
Joe
always
also
right.
points
Always.
out the great suggestion saying, this game seems to use the term dragon rather loosely.
Sure.
I fought one that was a unicorn.
Yeah, Kieran.
Ew.
Kieran is an end game encounter. I'm on Kieran Plus right now. It's a very
Oh,
spicy fight.
Congratulations.
Did you do the two Kieran's event?
I did not do the two Kierans event. That
I'll
sounds
do
insane.
it with you.
Okay, we should do that.
I haven't
I-
fought a Kieran for a while, but I'll do it.
I didn't know what that was. I think I went on that and I couldn't find anything.
The Kieran is a very fast, annoying
So
creature.
sweet. That's how you get the sexy armor.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's some
really?
really cool
Yeah.
armors from that one, but it's a tough fight. It's fun. It's tough. It's like the whole thing is like you've got to like knock it down because it doesn't stop moving and it's
So you
got
wanna,
really
like,
powerful attacks.
Hammer Kieran.
So you just have to hammer this, just
The whole thing is
moving so fast.
you got to land a rodeo on it or knock it down. That's the
basically
only way.
he like jumps like badoo, 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 and then like he has like a rear up, and then he like lightnings in like 5 spots. Like it's always in the same 5 spots in like
Huh.
the same order.
It's a really
And,
fast
like,
sparkle
you're-
unicorn.
Eventually, your brain knows where like the pentagram of like lightning strikes will be to
Oh,
like
weird.
avoid them,
It
but it
sounds
takes a little while to figure it out.
It sounds like the Final Fantasy summon. Who's the lightning unicorn? Anyways.
You're absolutely right, by the way.
Okay, whatever that is probably some weird Japanese trope we don't know
That's
about.
probably also a Kieran, is what you're saying.
Maybe. Joshua from Alabama says, hello, crew. I'm currently 40 to 50 hours in Monster Hunter World. I'm a longtime listener. Cool, thanks. I have 2 questions. What is your favorite item to take with you on expeditions or optional quests? Also, what have you wasted any materials and credits on armor weapons that later on you find out are completely obsolete? So, favorite favorite items. Like, what are like the locked items that you need to bring on
So
every
I bring a Vitality Cloak on every single run.
What is that?
It's incredible. It just
That's what I bring.
basically gives you free damage and lets you be lazy. Like you can
Yeah.
just take a bunch of free hits.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
it's wonderful.
You don't take damage, or at least as much damage, for like 90 seconds or so. I don't know how many.
You're like, hey, I want to go ham on Kieran, and I don't want to worry about the lightning for for like 20 seconds. I'll just put this cloak on, and I can just be lazy and take the damage.
Or like Otogaren's like rage
Sure.
when he's all like
Yes.
slashing around.
Yeah.
Or like if you're already heavily bleeding and he's like still raging, that's a good time to use it. It's pretty handy.
Super great against. I'm surprised we haven't got an email yet about basil juice.
Oh, it's coming.
Because
It's
that
coming.
guy, you definitely want to bring your Vitality Cloak against that guy.
How do I get a
got to it.
Vitality Cloak?
One of the early game quests. It's
Yeah,
gotta be
you
optional.
get it really early.
I don't remember.
Optional quest.
Optional
It's a-
quests are king. Okay.
Yeah, they are. It's usually given by the person in the armory. Those are the ones that give you the tools.
Gotcha. It asks about stuff that you bought, credits you spent that you immediately regretted. I mean, I guess I've had a little bit of that because I actually have run out of money, which
Sure.
I didn't expect, and I was promised would not happen to me.
As you get
Hang
high
on,
rank, you
hang
can
on.
run out of it
Eventually,
easily.
you'll have more money
Yeah,
than you
eventually
can
you'll have
Okay.
unbelievable amounts of money and lower research points. But anyway,
Arena quests are a good way to get money if you need some too.
Okay. I haven't done
and you can, it's really helpful that you can dial back your items in most cases. Not when you've made like the end item, but you can roll back items to make different ones with the materials.
Yeah,
which is
that's a
super
really
handy.
cool new thing that I appreciate.
Like it lets you, if you go to your tree while you're teching up a weapon, like you can, and then you realize later you wanted to go to something else, you can get it back and get a material refund. It's very helpful.
Let's see. Mike has a question. Says that he's really enjoying the game so far. It's his first Monster Hunter game. There's a lot of people, believe it or not.
That's really good to hear.
Based on sales numbers, I think you'd imagine there's a lot of people are getting this game for the first time.
Blowing me away.
Yeah.
Can't believe it.
I've barely used my arm crossbow for anything. What type of ammo should I be looking for when I'm out in the field? What are some good gameplay tips for it? Are there any other uses for it that I'm unaware of?
So that's gonna change a lot as you get through the game. You get better stuff to put in there later, but early game you want to hit the flash bug stuff. Just it's like a free blind, man. Like you can't go wrong with that. That's crazy.
I
good.
usually bring a lot of extra flash bugs to make more flash pods. That's the most useful one that I've encountered so far.
Yeah, later on they give you I don't forget what it's called, like the dragon pod or whatever. Very useful.
Dragon pod. What does that do?
It's whatever. It's just like the late game equivalent.
Yeah.
It just rocks their world, man.
And you'll need screamer pods for like Diablos.
Screamer pods.
There's
What do
some
they do?
weird those ones that make like a sonic boom sound that like makes them come up out of the sand. And then there's some of the really weird ones like bright moss just like lights up an area, which I don't know what the function is. Maybe later on
there'll be a fight in the dark later probably.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Probably. But they're all, I did not use them for like the first 30 hours. I was like, whatever, this thing is crap. Because mainly because I was using a heavy bow gun and I would always be locked in blasting. But once I switched to a melee weapon, I was like, wow, this is just like crazy having this stuff on hand. Like just flip them out and they do great stuff. Like the effects are not negligible. They're very strong.
Okay, so pay attention to them for sure. Nick from Arkansas says, hey everybody, big change in Monster Hunter World is the ability to craft monster plates and gems, which are very rare items that would normally require a good bit of grinding by using a character in Astera called the Elder Melder.
Correct.
Using rare items from the weekly limited bounties as well by completing special optional missions called Special Arena Quests, you can basically just turn these items that are tangible and not based in RNG to get something that is otherwise a chore to get. The Elder Melder can also craft new decorations by melting down unused ones, which is another big change. I personally love the new addition, and I'm curious what veterans like Dantek and Lele think of it.
You know what's crazy is I've got so many freaking plates and gems just from farming that stuff. But I have not actually used the Elder Melder function to get one of those rare gems, because the fights that I did, like, I've killed Xenojiva like probably 20 freaking times to get but I've got I have multiple Xenojiva weapons, full Xenojiva armor. Like I just like that fight a lot too. Like it's the final story monster.
Okay.
I think it's a really cool fight, and I just keep going back into it and doing it over and over and over and over.
Are you an Elder
that's
Melder
what
lad?
Monster Hunter's about.
Grinding.
And I didn't have to.
No, but it's like just loving that fight so much, and like
Right.
it's a little bit different every time. Your group of friends changes, and it's just fun. It's just that's what it is. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like this is a fight that I've distilled down to I know exactly when to hit him, where to hit him, and have his all of his moments down. I've got to hit his arm here to knock him on the side, or I've got to knock him off the edge here so he trips. There's lots of cool stuff in that fight.
I keep saying that. It's like there's nothing as satisfying as when you finally master those a weapon and an enemy to the point where you break every single thing, kill it really quickly, and never get hit.
That's
So it's just so satisfying.
And then walk towards the camera as the monster explodes behind you.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Got it. Well, Art would argue here. Art Vargas would say there's something that's even more satisfying, saying, I'm Art from Texas. Hello. I want to talk about the moments of badassery I have while hunting. One of the best feelings in this game is when you stagger a monster. Take Anjanath, for example. Seeing it prep its flamethrower attack, I vault into the air, Insect Glaive, jumping over the attack as it releases, then jump towards him to lay the smackdown on his skull. This is especially satisfying when I have the speed boost for my insect. Seeing him fall back is so awesome and just one of my favorite things about the series. What has been the standout moments for you guys so far?
I like being in the middle of a fight and watching a turf war happen. It's my favorite. I just sit back and I'm just like, whoa. And I gotta try when to get
the
involved.
novelty hasn't worn off for you yet?
No, not yet. Sometimes it's annoying when all of a sudden you're I'm just trying to kill this one guy and 3 of them pop in and you're like, God. Just bad luck at the time. But when there's just the 1 versus 1 in front of you, they distract the monster, and it's good to use that for strategy.
Turf wars are super cool until you meet basil juice.
Uh-oh.
That is the worst
Oh,
thing.
basil juice.
And you meet him by saying it 3 times. You said it twice. Don't say it a third time.
And he always shows up. In late game, he's always there, and you're like,
I'm excited to meet him.
You can be cooking with your palicos and Astera and basil juice.
He's got his own music soundtrack. Whenever I hear it, it's it triggers my mind.
Danny Elfman did it. It's wonderful.
No, really, it is like that. It's oh great, the bomber's here. Get out.
I think my favorite thing. This is old school, but will always be knocking Los or Ian out of the sky with an attack rather than with a flash bomb. It's so fun.
Okay.
And they're little like that they do when they fall down.
Sure.
Oh, Rathalos and Rathian.
Yeah.
Do you, like experts call it?
Well, that's just what we call it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's like
She's
shortened
hardcore.
versions of like all the old monsters, but like those are like the old,
the old Norse words.
The
The older
old-
Monster
the
Hunter
old
words.
No,
Norse
there's like the
words.
two like original like mascot.
Matt McKenna writes in with that topic and says, "Have any of you given special nicknames to any monsters, and if so, why?"
Yes.
Mine can't be said on the podcast because we just have to bleep them out.
You should say it, and I promise I'll bleep it out. I'll write the time code down. Say it right
Should
now.
we do it?
Yeah.
Motherfucker, asshole, piece of shit. I think that's a good one.
Oh my God.
That's I've called a couple monsters that too.
These cameras are rolling. Are you out of your mind?
Is it Odogarin? We just
Yeah.
call it Ododododo because we couldn't remember for a while what it was. And then the little guys in the Coral Highlands we just call Seamus. Like
Oh,
Farmer
I
okay.
like it.
Seamus.
I like it.
Odododo. That Odododo helm is. I've been wearing it forever.
Isn't
It's
it awesome?
It's so bizarre. Like it gives me like gray hair and a
It's
bird.
sweet.
I
beak.
love that one too. And then there's what is it? Titsiyaku?
Kuluyatu or whatever. He's
Yeah.
the new bird thing that doesn't do
The
anything.
blue one.
Right.
The blue one that's like Gendrome. I call
Yes.
Tatsiki. Like Tatsiki sauce. Because I just
Oh.
don't
The
remember what it was.
Velociraptor that does the
See,
the
this made me
the
feel
paralysis.
good because I can't remember all the time all the monster names.
I don't know
'cause
any
they
of
just like there are a few where I'm just like, yeah, I know Andronap, like whatever. But
And there's a few that like
yeah,
they
that
even
stick with
abbreviate.
you. But then there's some I'm like, what's that guy's name? Tsitsi Wow, whatever. Like
There's
it
so many
just-
like big rolly ones. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know the
There's
spiky
two.
rolly
Yeah.
one
Come
or
on,
the
dude,
or the
Hanson, there's
smoother
two.
rolly one.
There's two.
I don't know.
Come on, man. There's
can
only
never-
two of them.
Pink Rathian. I can never remember. It's impossible. It's impossible. By the way, the Pink Rathian thing,
Yeah.
is that a callback?
Yeah.
What's significant about Pink
The
Rathian?
colored ones are like they get progressively harder. So there's like after the blue, like the normal like red and green Rathalos and Rathian, then there's Azure Rathalos and Pink Rathian, and then you'll get like silver and
Oh.
gold. I want to say.
Yeah, I don't even know if those are in yet, but yeah.
So those are like the G. I think silver and gold were G rank
rank.
from the
That's
old.
the old
one.
high rank.
No, that's
no,
like
G
the
rank is
oldest
above. G rank
super
is
crazy
like
town.
G rank is crazy town rank, which will
Super crazy town.
usually that would be another release of the game, but in this case that might be different. We might get a DLC or something. That would make more sense.
Interesting.
I don't know.
This
Do you have
tied
like
in-
a wall of G rank in the old ones that you hit? This I'm just like interjecting a question because I want to
No,
know.
go for it.
G rank is like there is really difficult stuff in this game, but like G rank is like one shot. Like you get hit. And you
Oh
die.
yeah. I just
So,
mean
like-
like what are your previous games like G rank wall that you hit that you just
Oh.
couldn't get past?
You know what? I honestly don't know offhand.
Mine
I did
was
a lot of multiplayer.
Dan doesn't
G
see
rank.
walls.
the last time that I got that far in one. I don't remember if it was 3 ultimate or 4 ultimate.
It's
Was
by 4 ultimate was very
2 G rank Rajang was the one that I could never beat, even with different groups of friends.
Sure.
Just like everyone was always just dying. I'm sure there's like an armor set I could have made that would have made my life easier, but it just
yeah. G rank you can make your life easier, but like it's still like it's insane difficult. And like again, there's definitely a lot of challenge at the end game of this Monster Hunter, but G rank is like on another level.
Yeah, right on. This ties back a little while ago, but I want to get it out. Josh writes in and says, after unlocking the high rank hunts, we learned that monsters have been starting to migrate to other areas in the game. For example, you start finding Anjanath in the Wildspire Waste instead of only the Ancient Forest. I'm at hunter rank 28, and in these hunts, I'm still yet to see 2 dangerous monsters start fighting each other.
You will.
The turf wars are one of the coolest parts of the game, and for me, you'd think the term applies more than anything to these monsters. So it's not just the low rank stuff, like the big high rank.
I assure
beasts.
you that you will be involved in some turf wars that you will not want to be a part of.
That's
at the high
damn.
rank.
what a
Looking
thrill.
forward to
Just
it.
like a massacre, like that you have no chance of survival in.
Oh,
You're just like,
boy.
I gotta leave now. Like you
Mm.
can't stay there. It's just a
Yeah.
pit of death.
my
just
dodge
great.
skills are just so great in this
Ah!
game. They just keep getting better. I'm just gonna say that. That's all I do. Just dodge away from. And it's hard for me because I swap from dual blades to the light bowgun.
Oh, interesting.
And with the bowgun, you're slower, so it takes a minute to like. You can't always. Sometimes I get greedy and I want to take that shot, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like, roll.
Your boat. I saw a weird thing where I think it was fighting near Hergante. It was one of like the, a little ways into the high rank fights. It just gave me like a full UI prompt on the screen again saying, this is how you roll. Like 40 hours into the game.
Were you on fire?
I don't
I think
so.
sometimes when you change weapons or something, I've gotten that for sure. Like it's like trying to teach you how to use the new weapon.
Okay, I don't think it was that. It's just confusing. I'm like, why are you teaching me that? I know I'm bad at the game, but I don't know why. Leave me alone. Zachary Pliggy has a question that ties into everything.
Okay.
Friend of the show, Zachary Pliggy, says, hey, Hanson, it was great hearing all the love from Monster Hunter World. How many new players are hopping on board and having Lele on the podcast? There you go. A lot of Lele love. A bit of background. Monster Hunter is my all-time favorite series. I put at minimum of 300 hours into each entry, even ones never released outside of Japan, such as Monster Hunter Frontier Online.
That's commitment.
Jesus.
That's
I even
serious.
maxed out my original Monster Hunter game clock on the PS2. Have you done that, Lele?
That's absurd.
I'm not sure, but I have multiple like saves on one card where like I can't actually like gather any items because the item box is like completely full in all the stacks.
Just the data's broken.
It's broken. We've like corrupted some memory cards. Like it's bad. It was bad.
Jeez. Pluggy says, I absolutely adore Monster Hunter World. Some of the stuff I thought would annoy me, such as the scout flies and damage numbers, I grew to enjoy. Compared to past entries, it feels much more streamlined. I've spent the majority of my time putzing around in low rank, pulling friends through quests, explaining the game and systems, getting them comfortable so they're ready for high rank. I mainly play Hunting Horn, but also switch over to Charge Blade if I play solo. Yeah. Hunting Horn, wow. So the question is, between low rank and high rank, did your choice of weapons change?
Mine did, and I did talk about this a little bit on the last episode, how I went through low rank and into high rank with the heavy bowgun, but I did switch to melee just because I had to solo those encounters.
Yeah.
And soloing the Elder Dragons with the heavy bowgun was tough because of reload time and they're, because of that kind of thing. But I'm back to multiple weapons now, so that's cool.
Would you recommend switching weapons? Let's see. Lucas wrote in wondering that. Like, am I blowing it by just playing through the entire game with the one weapon I love?
I mean, again, I only switched because I was solo on these encounters. I think it's way cooler. Like, if you're a heavy bowgun user and you want to fight Elder Dragon, that's fine. Especially when you've got other players. Like, they could take the attention and you can just let loose your artillery barrage, right? Which is a lot of fun. Depending on your spec too. Like, if you've got the right armor to do that reload faster or get out of there, all these things are factors. But I would say that mastering one weapon that you really like is probably better, and then you can move out, branch out to other weapons.
Yeah, like you play how you want. But what I would say is, if you want to branch out a whole lot, it makes more sense maybe to wait to make more weapons until you're in high rank, just because they're better, instead of like burning up all the items.
That's the really cool part. Like when you get all those extra materials, you can just instantly advance the weapon up to your tier and be like, yep, cool, I got a really powerful weapon of another class immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I alternate between two, but now that I'm in high rank, I'm looking to do a third just to spice things up. Esteban Negrante, I'm sorry, says, it's just a simple thought, saying, hey, I use the sword and shield constantly, but I constantly forget about the shield, to the dismay of my friends. I probably would too.
That's all right.
If I played that.
I can't imagine playing this game with a shield. What is that like?
It's really helpful if you are timing blocks.
So how powerful is it? Like, if an Anjanath is like charging you, can you just put a shield up and I'll be okay?
It uses your stamina bar and then takes away some sharpness.
The
sword and shield might not take away sharpness because it's a shield, but like
the sword definitely does. Yeah.
Okay.
I've never used the sword and shield in any of these games, so
really?
I don't like sword and shield.
Told you, I just like to roll.
I don't use a shield in Dark Souls either, so you know that.
I don't. Jonathan.
You do now.
All right. Jonathan
but there are some where like it's beneficial to bring a weapon that you can block with, like old. Like Diablos was helpful when it comes out of the ground. Like you can block that.
Like that Diablos is another fight where it's like you got your heavy bowgun and you're sitting there trying to reload and it's like, he's under the I'm dead.
There are certain monsters that you want to be able to block.
Gotcha. Jonathan from Chicago writes in with a bunch of advice on how to use an insect glaive, which is nice. Just saying like, hey, make sure to get the red buff from the head as early as possible. He recommends some combos, which is great. Thank you for the insect glaive advice. And then he says, there was an old joke on Monster Hunter forums that the best strategy to slay any monster is step 1, don't get hit. Step 2, hit it until it dies. I took it to heart and rely entirely on insect glaive's mobility to kill every monster, and I rarely use items. That's a good strategy.
It's an excellent strategy. It reminds me of another good old classic, which is like reduce the enemy's HP to 0 while simultaneously keeping your HP above 0.
Good loading screen.
I've noticed a trend in these emails. They all seem to be tips for you.
Got a lot of insect glaive tips.
Yeah.
Just the one insect glaive.
I
know. Look, there's no helping at a certain point.
I mean, Ben, how many videos do I have to send you before you watch one?
He's never going to do it.
I watched that one, but it was frustrating because it's like, here's everything you know about the insect glaive. And then it was from like the beta or some like early stage show demos. So it's like, this is how you fight an Anjanath with Insect Glaive. But what I needed help with was like back in town, like just navigating the UI of like nurturing
so you need like
Kinsects.
an entirely different
we did a town guide, Hanson. I think you were on it with me.
Yeah, but you didn't help
over.
me with the Kinsect UI.
Jeez.
No, I mean, I give you credit for like sticking with it. And
You
trying
can
to
40
learn it.
hours!
Yeah.
40 hours!
Yeah, I am impressed about that.
Thank you.
Thanks
I think
for
you
sticking
can
with
find what you need to learn, or maybe you just like use a different weapon.
No.
I told him that too.
No.
It gets really salty.
I'm okay now. It's just understanding the UI is still a little messy. I'm no hero, folks. I just use an Insect Glaive. Nick from Atlanta says, hello, Monster Hunter Game Club panelists. Hello. What monster gave you the most trouble in low rank versus high rank? And how did you overcome the challenge?
So I didn't have any trouble with any low rank monsters that I can recall.
Really?
High rank, things started getting sketchy at Nergigante because I was all solo. Remember the other dragons I all beat on the first try.
Why were you all solo? Why do that?
There was nobody else had the game when I was playing through.
But what about like other reviewers? Like, why don't you team up with them?
Nah.
It probably weren't
Good
as
point.
far as he was
Jeez.
too at that point.
And that's Kim's right.
Huh. Okay, so you soloed near Hergante
Yes,
because I cannot beat that
sounds
MF for now.
the first time. Like definitely took me a few tries, but then like that Monster Hunter thing kicked in. The first time I beat him, like as soon as I beat him, I'm like the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go beat him again and again and again and again until I had the full Nerg set, and then that helped me with the other Elder Dragons substantially. That set's really great.
What's the monster that causes you to bleed in low rank?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay, that I'm
That one's
I'm
tricky.
gonna keep my saying.
Now, if
away
you
from
crouch, the bleed goes away.
that. Yeah, you do, which is still dumb.
or
Like I'm
Astera
sitting here
jerky.
bleeding
Gotta take your
hysterically,
jerky.
and I'm just gonna sit there and crouch.
You crawl around the corner and take a crap out
Bring-
behind a rock so you
bring-
then stop
bring jerky.
bleeding?
Bring Astera jerky. if
No,
you
I
want.
did. People are.
Okay,
I was
just making sure that
I was
you know.
yelling
really?
about that on Twitter because I was just getting so annoyed. But I knew that like you just stop and crouch and you obviously the blood will eventually stop. But I just think that's so silly because I'm like when I bleed, I also don't put jerky on myself when I bleed. So I guess like too that's
Never tried it.
I bleed. I just don't sit there while it's gushing out and crouch and then be like it's okay now.
It does
So-
sound
so
like
like
how
the
you
jerky.
attract a bear.
Yeah.
A good tip, like the jerky, is that consumables can help your life a lot.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize this enough. Like even just making those little anti-poison pods that you don't have to like gulp like an antidote. Like just you
Oh yeah.
Ah.
snap bite it and you get healing and poison recovery. Just
Interesting.
look at your thing, set your auto crafting up, and you'll get lots of really good items that you need to use.
There we go. Nick from Atlanta also has a question, which I don't think we covered last time. How do you feel about the music in the game? Do you recognize the unique themes for certain monsters, especially Basil Geist?
Certainly, like I know when he's there because you don't see him, right? You hear the music come on, and then of course, 1,000 egg bombs land on your face. He's the most annoying freaking piece of shit in this.
Oh man,
like,
I'm so excited to get to that.
Like he just shows up like, every time you're fighting an Elder Dragon. It's like, oh, this can't get worse, right? Oh, it's worse. It's way worse.
Why is he everywhere?
He's like, because he's just part of like every endgame map he can show up. Like,
it's
and
like the apex.
and what he
predator.
does is like he literally just drops bombs. Yeah, he's extremely aggressive. He
I
will
wanna
fight
be like
anything.
that.
He will
Just
chase
drop
you. He doesn't
bombs.
care.
He looks so weird too. He's got that giant eggy head.
He's a pine cone bomb man. Yeah,
Egg bombs.
and yeah, he's just super annoying.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievably annoying, and always interferes when he's not supposed to be there. Like you're like, oh, I got a turf war between these two dragons.
Right.
Watch him fight, and then it's like, dun dun dun, here he comes, and it's like, I gotta go. He's just
All
He's like, I don't
Get
care.
ready for this. Dan Tack, what's your nickname for him?
giant piece of shit, and a lot of other words that I can't say, even if they're censored.
Do you have insight into something else that you call him?
Oh, I don't think I fought him yet.
No, you'll know when you fight him.
Yeah, it's
I
usually just the
remember.
nickname is what the hell is that?
And like one of the late game quests is that you have to kill 2 tempered basil juices
Oh my.
in the same
Say it
mission.
again.
Oh, he's coming into the room.
Like it's absurd. Like it's crazy. Like even when you bring other friends along, it's
That
just like
sounds
there's death
bonkers.
everywhere. Anyway,
Other music, I should
Right.
point out, I think it's really, really great. I think it's a great soundtrack.
it is. It really does. It's really cool how you can like make that association between monster and music. And I also want to say I love the music in the Xenojiva fight. That's one of the reasons I've done it so many times.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. So when you get there,
Listen.
I haven't gotten
It's a good
super
fight.
far yet, so there's a lot that I still have to hear. I like Otogaren's a lot. I think it's really cool because it mixes like some sort of like Eastern thing with this sort of like
yeah, you know what?
goth like metal,
All the
sort of
music-
like
Finally.
organs and stuff. I think it's a cool song. It's very different from previous ones. And also, I finally did a few Rathalos solo the other night and was like all like had the warm fuzzies and was like tearing up almost because they like reorchestrated it, and it's like the same theme that I remember but just like bigger and better,
Oh,
and
that's
like
cool.
his updated like graphics are really beautiful, and it's just like so nice to sort of like see those like the spirit stay the same and sort of like be realized, in a bigger, better way. It's nice.
For sure.
All the music in that one zone, the fourth one, whatever, the desolate area, like the graveyard, the poison yard, the rotten veil. All the music in there is really good, I think.
Yeah,
Go in there
all
just
the
for
music throughout the entire game has a lot of John Williams in it. I don't know if I'm reading too far into it, but there's even like in Hystera, there's like 2 moments where it feels like it's building to the Star Wars theme or to the E.T. theme. It's jumping up there in some way.
A little bit of the Williams in there, but I think to good effect and not too derivative.
Yeah,
definitely. Jacob Shaw is kicking off a trend here that a lot of people wrote in about. I'm sorry. Okay. This is Ralph from Texas who's breaking off this trend, saying, "Hey, GI crew, as a Monster Hunter veteran with over 1,000 hours starting from 4U onwards, I feel this game's high rank starts strong but gets progressively weaker. I thought that investigating the Pink Rathian was a hassle and that Elder Dragons were even worse. I also feel that the lack of direction after defeating Hunter rank 29 Urgent was a bit frustrating. I love the game, but I feel that a first-timer might get dissuaded from the lack of direction that is given. What do you guys think about what is happening with the weird progression in the high rank?
I'm a little confused about his question, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, how about this? Jacob Shaw also...
High rank is very linear. So it throws you up, kill this Elder
linear?
Dragon. Yeah.
Quite linear.
Yes.
So like...
I was thinking the same thing.
We were all desperate to make fun of Tag.
And you did. Yeah. So we got that. That's good. So it goes kill one Elder Dragon, kill another Elder Dragon, kill the third Elder Dragon, and then go kill...
No, but I think even before the Elder Dragons, like Jacob Shaw writes in about it as well.
Okay.
After breaking into high rank, my mind was blown by all the new armor and quests, but I was excited for the new challenges. That is until I hit my first real difficulty wall in the game, searching for those stupid footprints for Pink Rathian. After getting my clock cleaned by that pink punk too many times to count, I finally defeated it, only to be thrust into that terrible grind of looking for more footprints and clues from the Elder Dragons.
So I do remember that. I think I know why it's there, though. They really want you to be prepared with some extra armor and top tier weapons to fight those dragons, especially if you're solo.
Interesting.
So I think they sort of put that in there as sort of a sync to make sure that you're killing other stuff to get the gear necessary that they deem necessary to make that an easier fight for you.
But the sync just has you wandering around, like Ronald from Nebraska.
I'm aware of what you have to do with it.
Also writes in saying, I'm sick of searching the jungles, Wildspire Waste, Rotten Vales for monster tracks. It's just all over the place.
I knocked him out and like, if you just understand like the logic behind it, like you just go to the zone and you just you wander around for 10 minutes, you find the tracks. Just don't do anything else if that's your goal.
Although, Dan, I think you're wrong, and Ron from Nebraska points out that if Dan Tech says anything you disagree with, remember that he loves Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Now, we all know that's not true. If I want to take a hard line on something, that is certainly not true.
I'm going to be controversial and say that one is better than Temple of Doom.
Nope.
I've never heard that argument.
Yes, you
but
have.
It's not outrageous.
Like, I feel like Temple of Doom is like separate from all other Indiana Jones movies, which are very like dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Temple, like, I just don't like. It's funny as its own movie, but I don't like it as an Indiana Jones movie. I don't know. This is a different game club.
It feels like it should have been an episode of Young Indiana Jones or something.
Yeah.
I think we can all
too
agree,
goony.
Temple is down there, but it's nowhere near the garbage crevasse that is Crystal Skull.
But you have to also feel like Crystal Skull is like funny though. Like,
it's funny, not in a way.
Yeah,
not in a good way. What are you talking about?
about?
We have 6 more pages about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We'll just
Oh
quickly
my
get
God.
All right,
through
let's
these.
get them out.
my
Let's knock them
I
out.
don't know why that came out. Wes Bates from Woodland, California says, hey, about 65 hours in Monster Hunter World. I'm really enjoying it, but I can't help but feel that the second half of the game leaves something to be desired in terms of progression. The low rank portion of the game continuously drip feeds the player with new monsters, missions, and areas at a rate that gives just enough choice and freedom to stay satisfying. But I feel like the high rank portions bombards the player with high rank versions of all the old monsters and adds so many new ones shortly after starting that it's exceptionally difficult to even know where to begin. The same problem can be said of the high rank armors, which are absolutely necessary immediately, but the game doesn't show you most of what's available until you kill the high rank versions of the monsters for that set. Then you have to do some heavy grinding to get the pieces needed for the armor. You don't even know if it's actually a good set for what's coming up next. I had to grind for 3 hours to get one upgrade to my bow, which was way longer than anything I had to do in low rank. It took me 30 hours to clear low rank and another 30 just to get near Hirgante in high rank. And I feel like I was walking blindfolded the entire second half. Anybody else feel that way?
I mean, I had a completely different experience. I thought high rank was great because of the fact that it didn't start like, the hand holding was done. I could go chase whatever armor I wanted, or I could progress, and that would really depend on like how I did it. Like, I'm like, okay, Nergigante is killing me in one shot. Probably need to get some upgraded armor so he doesn't one shot me and he's two shots me instead. I can live with that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll go track down the set. But like, I did not feel that way. I'm not saying like I'm curious for when you guys get to that point if you do have that same sentiment.
So do you feel like the unlocking armor and just the satisfying loop, it doesn't slow down in the second half? Like you just have so many more options that it stays at the same pace throughout?
Yeah, I think the pacing is more of like, instead of being you kill this, you kill this, you kill this, it's like, here's your next objective, but here are many other things that you can do while you get prepared for that encounter.
Okay.
I think
That's how I
too,
feel.
sometimes it just comes down to luck that you get what you need in a fight that you're doing. I mean, you can obviously pick the monsters and know where certain things are going to be, but you can't guarantee you're going to get the claw.
And that's one thing that you should really, again, this is mostly for newer players, check out that cool manual they have in the game that you advance through it, learning the creature. It tells you, here are the break-offs.
Yep.
Here's what you need to shatter. Here's what you need to slash. Like, those are very useful when you're tracking down those, like, man, I can't get that stupid thing to drop. Where does it drop? Oh, it drops off this guy on a tail cut. So, like, you've got to take that into the fight with you.
There we go.
Good point.
Dylan R. Hoffman says, he's kind of at the Dantac camp, I think. He says, having played mostly every Monster Hunter game since Monster Hunter Freedom Unite on PSP, the high rank hunts in Monster Hunter World are a cakewalk until you fight tempered monsters that are on crack.
Yes.
Is that true? Do you think the high rank fights overall are...
I don't think they're a cakewalk by any stretch. In fact, I think for a lot of players getting into the series, they're going to seem intimidating or overly difficult.
Impossible.
Not impossible.
Oh.
Very challenging. But yeah, once you get into the tempered, cracked out monsters, things get really crazy. And that reminds me of some of the older, harder G rank sort of stuff.
What are the tempered monsters? I haven't seen these
Tempered
yet.
monsters are even harder versions of monsters you've already fought, like a basil juice or whatever, anything. They're purple on they're purple in quest icons.
So are they like in rage mode more of the time and like just do more damage, right?
They're all enraged. They're always enraged. Like,
okay,
so
like constantly in rage mode?
I think they're just I think
that's
again,
scary.
I'm just talking. I think they constantly have the enrage boost. Again, that's anecdotal, but I believe that is how it works. That they constantly have the boost of enrage damage.
But like just the fast animation.
They're wild. Yeah. They're wild and they're angry and they kill you.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
And yeah, they offer better rewards, which is cool. Like that's how you get all your cool like end game skill gemming. Is you get lots of skill gems for beating them.
Oh, good. Let's see. God, did I not copy and paste this name? I don't think I did, but it's good, so I'll read it. Hello, Ben and crew. Monster Hunter. Is it the Dark Souls of Pokemon?
Oh.
Then they noted that they typed that just because they wanted to see Dantac die a little.
They got it.
Yep, they really did. This person points out the first huge wall that it came up against was near Nergigante, who would almost one-hit me with his massive spirally charge attack. I found after a few repeated attempts that this move was almost impossible to dodge. Up until then, I had not needed to use the blocking function of the Great Sword, but Nergigante forced me to start. I soon found that losing most of my stamina was a pretty nice alternative to dying, but man, it was really hard to adapt in this instance. Have you guys come across similar problems with him or tougher monsters? I had no problem smashing the next 4 Elder Dragons afterwards, especially after I farmed Nergigante's Greatsword.
I mean, that is pretty much what I just stated earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like, I had pretty much the same experience. Had to change up for him. He was the first. I'm not going to say wall, because I consider a wall to be something like, insurpassable. But you absolutely do need to learn the timing on that haymaker if you're going to make it out of that fight.
Am I not paying attention? Because
he telegraphs
yeah.
it. It's fast, but he does telegraph it.
That's it. I've have full health, and I'll get one-shotted, and I don't even know if he's doing an attack.
Hit by that haymaker. He does telegraph it. You'll learn it.
Okay.
You'll learn it.
And that's his only move that could kill me in one hit?
That's his one-shot move.
Okay.
Depends
on your armor, though.
Sure.
I would
I'm in my underpants.
recommend doing that quest with other people and not engaging him and just sort of like trying to watch.
Right.
And just watch his wind-ups into those things. I haven't done that fight
I love
yet,
how your
but
best advice to Hansen keeps being,
It's
don't get involved. Don't play.
You don't want to play this game by any means.
Just think back.
He does have that.
Let others do the work.
Play too, just jumping around in the air. How are you going to see like what they're doing?
Right,
if
but I
you're
look
not.
really cool doing it. Like
That's the move you got to watch out for sure.
Okay.
And I do think that there are a lot of monsters that are challenging for different weapon types. That's just in order to like sort of like have the variety for all those weapon types. There are going to be some that are hard with, even
you want a real
broadly,
challenge.
like melee versus
Take a melee weapon and don't poison Kushala or whatever it is. Just whittle it down 10 HP at a time. Believe me,
without
that's a
the
fight.
armor that you need. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow. Oyvind Garberg from Norway.
Hey,
All right,
Kim,
Norway.
how would you pronounce that name? Oyvind?
Oyvind.
Sure. Hello, Norway.
Norway.
It says, hello, fellow hunters. This was my first Monster Hunter experience after sinking 100 hours into the game. Here's my favorite and least favorite moment. Best moment is just really getting all the items he needed and taking down the Hergante, which is great. Worst moment, after a long fight against Akiran, my hunting party was finally able to take it down. Unfortunately, I died just before it did, and despite climbing up the Coral Highlands as fast as I could, time ran out just as I reached his corpse.
Because his nest is similar. He likes to go to that one spot that's a real pain in the ass to get to.
The,
on
like,
that
way
way.
up top?
Yeah.
Like Legiana's nest.
Yeah.
He goes up there, and like so
To
if you
die?
that's I think they share the nest location. So
Interesting.
like,
Is there like a glider mantle like shortcut up
there
there?
is. You can glider. The stuff you can do with the glider mantle is
I
ridiculous.
haven't even like tried to figure that out. But
You can pump your. That's a good idea, actually. I should start bringing that along just for that, like just to cheat the area. You can do crazy stuff with that glider mantle. You want to get that.
Jeremy Bull from East Lansing writes in.
Hey, so let's go green.
Hey, there we go. At this time, I've seen credits on the story and have gotten my hunter rank up to 37. He says the final 5 Elder Dragons you fight are some of the coolest fights in the game. The final boss was really fantastic to look at, but did not feel like the challenge the story was trying to make it out to be. My favorite moment so far was fighting a Pink Rathian in Wildspire Waste, and Basil Juice joined us. They proceeded to fall down the quicksand pit in the middle of the map. I jumped down, much to my dismay, to see a Black Diablos had joined the fight.
Yeah.
Oh
At this point, I proceeded to
that's-
sit on the sidelines until eventually my prey flew away from the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Was
was
there a question there, or is it just?
I was just saying that the
Just a cool story.
5
bro.
Elder
It's a
Dragons
good
towards
story.
the end.
I've had
the
those
best.
experiences where Basil Juice and a Black Diablos and oh god, what else? You know what? It doesn't matter. Those are nightmares. Those are nightmares.
those are
scenarios.
hard by themselves. All 3 is real special. Yeah.
Aaron Bivens says, hey, everybody, the new environmental stuff in this game is amazing. Landslides, falling boulders, pits, acids, all kinds of things. What's been your favorite environmental event to happen?
You know what? I like the environmental stuff, but it does feel sort of just like an afterthought. Once you learn like the location in every map, it's just like, yep, that's where the lava comes up. That's where the water goes down. That's where there's that pit in the desert. And then like after that, it's like more so than that. I think it's interacting with stuff in the environment, like tree jumps and stuff like that. Those seem more interesting and more doable in many different situations than the sort of set piece traps, which are awesome, especially the first time you get them to hit. Like you're in the Rathalos nest, you hit the log,
That
and
one was fun.
that's great, right? And you just fall down there and you get like free 15 seconds of hammering on them. Like, it's good stuff.
Good stuff.
But it didn't blow me away.
No.
As
I
far
think
as,
the only one I've really used is the like tree trap that's in Ancient Forest.
Yep.
That's
Right,
the only one
right.
really
That
actually
That one comes up a
been
lot.
beneficial to me so far. But
Gotcha.
I haven't played a ton in the other zones yet.
Master Chief wrote in, which is amazing.
Wow.
Wake me if you need me. I need you
Whoa.
now for this
we got a
gameplay,
new
buddy.
Master Chief.
Here we go. My biggest concern is after 80 hours, I feel like I'm mostly done. There's still a nice chunk of time, but people raved about how you could put hundreds of hours into Monster Hunter games, and I feel like I'm not feeling the desire to keep grinding.
Where is it? How many hours? I'm sorry.
80.
80. Okay.
I have most of the Elder Dragon armor as well as a few tier 8 weapons. I main Greatsword and then picked up the bow, but I feel like the endgame is a bit of a letdown. One of the reasons Monster Hunter World gained a bit more interest was the hole that Destiny 2 left after its spectacular flameout, so maybe I just had unreasonable expectations. But I feel like even Destiny 2 had much more to do with the raid, Nightfall, PvP. Monster Hunter seems to be a one-trick pony. You hunt monsters, and that's all, folks. If people can kill these Elder Dragons for several hundred hours, then by all means, I feel like it's personally back to PUBG. To be fair, I know there's going to be updates and DLC for Monster Hunter World as well, but now it feels like it's time to put it down, which is a bit disappointing.
Here's what I'm going to say. If you are not feeling it at 8 anymore, you've spent 80 hours on it, put it down. Maybe go back to it a little bit later.
It seems like he enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's
you know?
nothing wrong with being like, you know what? I've put 80 hours into this. I'm burnt out on it. I need to go to something else. Like, I think that's one of the best things you can do as a gamer when you feel that burn. And like maybe he'll pick it up in a few months and there'll be DLC or something that, you know, brings him back into the game. But like I said, if you're like, don't feel like you have to play it for hundreds of hours, because some people do.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do have the quest, the weekly quests, and that kind of stuff, and sure, DLC is coming.
Event quests.
I'm wondering what kind of HR he's at, because you do keep unlocking stuff as you go through the later game, but you have to get to certain HR ranks to unlock it. Like Kieran Plus requires like HR 51, I think.
Okay.
With 80 hours though, he's probably there. But like, if you keep going, there's more stuff. You just have to complete a lot of endgame quests to get there.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, like I keep saying, for me, the fun is just like how good you can get at some of those fights and like just the variables that exist and playing with your friends. So like for me, like I don't play Overwatch, for example, because it's hard for me to learn new stuff like that, and I'm not going to figure it out. I don't have the time for it. But like people play that for like, an hour every night or whatever, and that's the game that they like to play. It's like a stress relief and it's fun and they get really good at their main, and like that's how I feel about Monster Hunter. Like I could play just fighting like the same, even like my favorite few monsters until I die.
That's the part that's just
what I
wild.
mean? Like just and like that, or like it's like that in like Skyrim. Like I could just play until I'm dead. Like I just don't. Those are like the only 2 games I play. Like,
well, it's kind of funny you mentioned
each person
that,
likes,
because actually I'm saying what I feel with Monster Hunter World and why I'm so into it is because it fills a similar itch that Overwatch does. Allows you to socialize, allows you to keep getting better at something. You can just go in and just do a small quest if you want to, or you can go on a big hunt. There's just do what you want when you want, and
it's funny to think of the Destiny comparisons because like I know the game is complex. There's a lot of systems you can really sink your teeth into, but like that core of it that you're talking about, Lele, like I just like whacking on the monsters. I just like doing these fights again and again and again. I'd imagine there's designers at Bungie or some other games some other designers trying to make games with a long tail that play a game like this, and it's like, what is it? Why is this one grabbing so many people when the core loop is so simple?
Because
Dan, am I
like
insane?
Destiny is.
I think this is a huge conversation, and I don't think we have time for it here, honestly. But
give me the taste, Dan, please, Daddy.
At a very simple level, one aspect of this is the rewards in Destiny are not proportional to your time put in comparison to Monster Hunter. When you get a new Monster Hunter set, it's a huge upgrade. You feel it. You get different moves, different skills, different everything. In Destiny, it's like, okay, my rocket launcher's a little better. Nobody gives a
The thing with Destiny for me too, and I didn't play Destiny 2, but I played a lot of Destiny 1, is I feel like to actually get any decent gear, you only did the raid and the what is it? The
Nightfall stuff.
Nightfall stuff. And it was like every single time we did it, and we did them a lot of times, it was like figure out the cheat and then do it over and over and over again, and every moment was exactly the same. Like crouch in this one spot where you're less likely to get hit, and then like I would just like keep sniping the same thing over and over and over again. And it was like this was fun the first time to get through it and get a loot drop, but I don't want to ever do it again because it's going to be exactly the same.
Aren't there going to be those players out there that are like, well, I'm fine-tuning my first-person skills, like I'm getting better and better and becoming a better shot over time, like we're getting better at Monster Hunter here in third person?
I feel like the difficulty thing in Destiny was different. Like in Destiny, everything to me felt like it was exactly scripted. The AI went in exactly the same steps, and they were just like bullet sinks. I didn't feel like if I tried to not cheat that I was getting any better. It just felt like a disproportionate challenge in the HP, and you need the really good weapons to actually do those quests the right way, but you don't get those weapons until you get them from that raid. So it was just sort of and I mean, I'm not super great at shooters, but I mean, this is playing with the dudes here. That's how we ended up having to play it. And it was just not fun. After you do it a couple times, you realize that it's exactly the same every time. Once you're hiding in those places to kind of exploit it. And I think there's a lot more variables in Monster Hunter, and just I'm better at it, so it's more fun, I guess.
It's so satisfying too when you break a part off. And you're just yes, I with my light bowgun, I like to shoot him in the face, and I'm like, ha ha ha, as it flies off. I'm so when you just land that perfect shot, it's just or you slice the tail off finally, it's just so damn satisfying.
So having played, a substantial amount of Destiny 2 and a substantial amount of Monster Hunter, it's with Destiny 2, you have a very scripted raid encounter, very traditional MMO style raid encounter where it's you hit this button, you hit this button, everyone has to do X at the time things to Y, hit this button at this time. Everybody's got to do their thing in sync, and then we might get a reward. Monster Hunter is just you get right into the core of the fun of it. You are instantly fighting the boss. You are only fighting bosses. You're not having to do anything. There's no trash clearing. There's no trash pulling. There's no weekly resets or lockouts. I mean, the quest, but come on. And it's I want to kill a giant monster. Okay, I am now fighting Giant Monster. I am now getting rewards from Giant Monster. Very, very right down to the core of what we love about fighting a big boss.
Yeah.
Like, it just, to me, never feels like a grind. Like, even if I'm literally, like, grinding out Rathian.
Sharpening your sword, grinding it out.
Like,
Like,
It's
you know,
all
it
worth
doesn't
it for those
feel like-
armor and weapon upgrades, man.
But, like, I know, like, I think I just play weird, but it doesn't, like, feel like a grind to me in that sense.
Yeah.
It feels like, hey, I fought 5 Rathians, and it was fun every time, and here are these, like, fun moments that happened in those fights, and here's a cool thing my friend did, and we joke about it, and, like, you know, there's a lot of, like, sort of, like, lighthearted optional quests usually in Monster Hunter games that are sort of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I've had friends who have told me, like, I don't like the grind of Monster Hunter. I don't like the repetition, and, like, that's fine. Like, whatever works for you and what you find exciting. Like I said, I think 80 hours, you got enjoyment out of it. So
I think so.
put it down and feel okay about that.
Overall, it was a lot of positive emails. A lot of people saying like, "Oh my god, thank you for choosing this as a game club.
okay,
I didn't
that's
expect
good.
it. I didn't expect to like it so much." It's more people cooling on the second half than I thought, but there were people that still thought that the challenge increase.
We
was
lost
great.
some people on the second half.
A little bit.
It
Just, I
happens.
mean, you know, that's like 4 emails out of what, you know, like 80 or something.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I never really get it because, like, it's hard for me to, like, get out of my own perspective on it. But just, like, why is Monster Hunter a grind, but things like, you know, Pokemon or the Destiny raids
Yeah.
or Final Fantasy or, like, Dragon Age Inquisition.
but you got to admit,
like-
everything in Monster Hunter takes a long time
Okay,
to do.
so like
But that's, like, the point.
It's all what's like
guess, like,
engaging for you. I mean, it's like
it's
to
just
each their own.
to each
the
their
whole
own,
notion
yeah.
of grind is weird to me in this context because grind comes from like the old when you just sit there and hit A over and
yeah,
over to
that's
kill the
what
same monster.
I
You're not
think
doing
is a
that. You're not doing
grind.
that.
That's
Monster
not
Hunter.
what Monster Hunter
You're
is.
not smashing
yeah.
the A button, waiting for your guys to hit, you know, to kill the thing and get XP and potions and gold. You're not just waiting to level up. Like you're literally interacting at a lot of engagement when you're fighting a
and
monster.
like learning how to fight that specific monster, you know. But like if you just really just don't enjoy fighting the monsters, then like maybe you just don't like it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You don't have to like it.
It's okay, everybody.
But, like,
it's okay.
it's all right.
like,
Everyone's
did you-
fine.
We're all friends here.
Each their own.
I just wonder if when people use the term grinding like that in the context of Monster Hunter, if it's the type of thing where they've done it like twice, you know, the same monster, and they haven't quite figured it out into that sweet spot of like really understanding.
They've
you know
listened
what
to
I
the
mean?
music, but have they listened to the music?
No.
Kind
Do you
of
know what I'm
thing?
trying to
Okay.
say?
Does
Does anybody know what I'm
understand.
trying
I
to
understand.
say?
Like,
Grind
people-
has become a word to equalize repetition. Then
Yeah.
people use it like that. So they think, you know, fighting the same monster is repetitive, even though that encounter is different every time, depending on like what gun you bring or weapon rather, how many people you play with, you know, what parts you want to focus on. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
like
Jewel's
I
a
just
real
don't
blind
think
grind.
I don't think it's a grind in the same way that like why is doing an Overwatch match over and over and over again in the same map not a grind?
Right.
To me, that's the level of like
Oh yeah, people
variable
say
that
they grind
exists.
competitive to like get up in ranks and stuff. Like it's just the word is just
Yeah,
It's a
just
weird word.
It's a word.
I hear what you're saying, Lele. Zachary Pliggy also writes in with a simple question. Do y'all see yourself continuing to play after you reach the end game?
So I'm at 95 to 100 hours in, and I'm going to stop playing
And
until PC release at this point.
then you're going to start over from scratch.
Yeah. Oh, we have to.
Just because you want the 60 frames in theory, if that's what it actually
It
looks
better
like.
be.
When
They
is
wouldn't commit
PC?
to it. They wouldn't commit to it on the cover story
I know,
trip.
but if it's not, then forget it. Like
Really?
When is the PC one? coming
autumn,
up? Oh.
whatever that means. Right?
Everyone's
Oh.
favorite time for PC gaming. Autumn.
I am going to keep playing, and I think I'll probably start playing less as more games come out, but still hopping in every once in a while. Same thing I do with Overwatch. Like I hop in, do a match or two, maybe do a hunt, and then pop out.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not planning on it.
Like I want to play with my PC crowd. Like,
Yeah.
and now that I've gotten to this point, it's like, all right, I'll wait, and this better be a good port. Are you listening to me? This better be a good port.
Hey, Capcom,
Oh,
you listening to me,
man.
buddy?
Hey.
Hey.
Tim
Hey, yo.
Turry's listening to you right now.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, he's on the wheels of steel back home. Lele, I mean, you're in it for the long
I'll
haul,
keep
right?
playing. I mean, I've played every entry except for Try. So I mean, and you know, it's my favorite. You know,
Yeah.
it's just more
It's going to be all year.
But-
Probably the next 4 years you're going to be playing this
until
thing.
there's another one. I'll keep playing it.
World 2. Well, that's
Not
a good segue.
several hours at a time, maybe.
Yeah,
but
let's
like
just get him off a handheld forever. And
Don't look back.
Hey, I mean, like,
Yeah,
serious. Don't
I
look back.
never want them to go to handheld.
I
I would
would-
keep it on console.
I
Switch, though.
prefer it on console, but I would rather have it on handheld than none.
Well,
Like-
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Don't look back.
Jill Valentine
fun.
says, "Don't look back." No, Jill Valentine, Capcom #1 fan here, apparently. Great message from Jill saying, "First off, I would like to thank Dan Tack and everyone else that covered Monster Hunter World for convincing me to get this amazing game. Dan Tack, thank you.
Aw.
Also for just being a shepherd for so long, being the champion for Monster Hunter in this office.
It's really great to get feedback like that from games that people are intimidated about or have scared
Yeah.
or not played before, and then to see someone fall in love with them. So thank you.
Absolutely. Jill also says, I can't wait to see where Capcom goes from here, even though I'm a bigger fan of the Resident Evil franchise. There's obviously an audience here, and I'd like to see how they improve on this formula and fix the minor quality of life issues the game still has. Also, I included this result screen image that Ben Hansen may enjoy. It was an insect glaive fighting an Anjanath, which, great.
You know,
great
your
image.
insect glaive discussion is just resonating with the community like
Well,
no
that's
other.
what
You know
I'm
what?
saying.
I wanted more of a bond with the Kinsects. I wanted to like have them like fly around my home. I want to be able to feed them. They're just kind of like an abstract
Oh, hey,
thing, you know?
Next game, man. Next game.
Well, that's the question. What do you want from the next game?
what do I
console.
want?
Sure.
I would like it to be a full-fledged MMORPG.
Wow.
Just Monster Hunter. No subtitle.
Wow.
And then you make it a living game for the next 10 years.
Would it be that
That's
much
like
of a change?
what I wanted, okay?
Yeah.
Not what we're going to get.
Well, what's the difference?
It's huge. I mean, it's just when you have that framework that you can just upgrade, forget like weekly, then you can just like a constant. Oh,
Okay,
just
but
it would be
but
amazing.
it's just the MMO distinction. Like you can play with your friends, you can play with your friends. Like what does it really matter if you call it an MMO versus
'cause
they just keep updating world?
You'd have
forever?
a lot more of the stuff, these annoyances, like how do I get in my friend's game? You know, all this junk is all integrated. Speaking of it as a traditional MMO, right? Like you don't have to worry about any of this crap. You're all there in that world.
You said you didn't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
For
There's
what
a
it
credit on
is.
that.
You're asking me what I want.
Okay.
Hand to God, right? Like
So
you
if
know,
Monster Hunter
ultimate-
World 2 just had better online functionality, better friend
that's the thing,
system.
I don't want there to be a 3. I just want Monster Hunter, right?
I know, but
Like
all
like
that
World
it
of
would
Warcraft,
take to
Final Fantasy 14. These are just things that get upgraded and added to.
I understand that, but I don't think the core of the game has to be that different for them just to keep updating it forever. Like in theory, and this is abstract.
Sure.
If they just took Monster Hunter World and kept adding regions to this base game forever and ever and ever, that basically is the MMO you're looking for. And maybe if they cleaned up the friend system, like you're saying.
They'd have to no. You could clean up and modify a lot of things when you go into that MMO framework. It's just like it gives you so many more tools to. No more like re-rolling characters or any of this kind of stuff. Like you've got your permanent dude that you work on, whatever.
Sure.
But there's
Hey.
no like you don't like re-roll. You just put on different armor.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Right, but okay, so like for Monster Hunter 2, I'm gonna have to start at 1 again, right?
That's your choice.
Hey, man, that's your
do it
choice.
on PC.
That's your choice.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Okay,
Anyway,
so
that-
more of an MMO.
something like that. Yeah, that way it would give them. You know how these people have concerns about end game content panning out. They're done after 100 to 300 hours. I mean, that's a lot of time for me, but I get it. They want more. With that kind of framework, you get a lot more than weekly events. It's like you can add, instead of adding dungeons, you add encounters. You swap out encounters of the week. It's very easy to swap in and out encounters with that kind of backbone or framework.
Yeah.
So just like you can be like, this week we've got 10 different new fights, and then you swap them out and do different holiday events.
That
I
seems
know.
like the event quest that they do already.
This would be more significant of a change, like the equivalent of like adding new dungeons to a MMORPG instead of just a few quests. Like instead of taking what they've already got there and just serving it up in a different way, which is what the event quests kind of are, you could do all kinds of just crazy new stuff. I think.
I think
Anyway.
they already do that, Dan.
All right. Well,
I'm just
well,
messing
you're
with
right.
you. I think it's shockingly close. I mean, it doesn't seem like that
It's
much of
getting
a
there.
stretch to say that
It's getting there.
they could fully go for that full games of service with the next approach.
Right.
Yeah. Matt McKenna was wondering if there's a big piece of DLC if we'd ever come back for a Game Club Part 3. Maybe.
For part 3,
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna do a game club. We'll definitely cover the DLC.
Yeah. in
We
some way.
already know it's coming, I believe. Like I think they've made announcements to that effect.
Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of exciting stuff. I mean, there's also tons of news stories about how crazy well the game is selling, which is...
I'm blown away actually by
Yeah.
the I expected this to be something that people would love when they brought it back to console like in a big way, but the numbers are
Yeah.
crazy to me. Like that's awesome.
yeah.
I can't believe it.
I think they sunk a lot into this game. Definitely felt on the cover story trip there was that pressure of like, ooh, this is a big gamble. I hope people will buy this thing.
I'm glad it paid off for him.
yeah, for sure. Alay, anything you want from the future of Monster Hunter?
I just want to make sure that it keeps happening. It's my favorite.
So with those sales numbers, I think it's the same thing.
Or like if they don't make more, then yeah, like keep the servers on for this one for a long time.
Sure.
Let me play offline, which I'm pretty sure I can now.
Yeah.
So
You'll be happy.
yeah. I'm pretty
What do you want, Hanson? What do you want for the next Monster Hunter?
I just want them to babify the hell out of it. Just dumb it all down. Just Paper
Then it's not
Mario.
Monster Hunter anymore.
I know.
Actually, one thing that I would think is fun is if they added some more of the like Goonier stuff in as event quests, like in the old games we used to like get bored eventually and we would like make up games that we would just like play in the environments. But like they have I know I'm crazy, but like they have the opportunity to do those types of things as events, like do like capture the flag or something like that. Like
that would be fun. Someone wrote in a similar vein, I forget who was exactly now, saying that they really wanted to bring back some of the wackier weapons. And they were listing some of the stuff off. It sounded insane.
There were some cool stuff back then.
Which ones did they get rid of? I don't remember.
There's one that what was it? I don't recall the name. God.
Okay. It's buried in paperwork now. But
no, it's like
get wackier. That seems like a good route for Monster
You mean
Hunter
like
World
the
moving
funny
into the future.
weapons?
Yeah.
Or like weapon
funny.
categories?
Funny.
Oh, like the frozen tuna?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I love that stuff. They don't have any of those anymore? I mean, I feel like maybe just people don't fish enough.
Is there a frozen tuna in the game?
There probably is.
There probably is.
Okay.
Or like
I have,
the cat's pond.
You got to go
They're
dark
fun.
into the fishing category, which is not something I've done.
Yeah, that's what that last person, Master Chief, can do. Just go
Again,
dark into the fishing category.
Like once you've played 3,000 hours and if you've like exhausted everything, then you just start fishing.
See what this fishing is all about.
Yeah, about time. Hey, thank you so much for everyone that stuck with it, that's been playing dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of Monster Hunter World. I'm glad that it seems like a strong majority seem to enjoy their time with it. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.